It is the biggest shakeup the housing market has seen in nearly a century.
The process in which you're going to be buying real estate is going to be looking so differently. So in this video, we're going to talk about all major changes that you need to be aware of so that you understand the different options that you have, ultimately leading you to having a very successful transaction and getting you that new home that you've been dreaming about having. Now, it's always been my goal to be as upfront and honest with you. And so some of the things I'm actually going to recommend to you, it's very likely that some of my real estate agent friends I'm going to be very happy that I touched on, but ultimately it's about transparency. And that's what this video is about. So let's get right into it. Here are two major changes that are coming down the pipeline that you need to be aware of as a buyer. Number one is you're going to have to go under a buyer-broker agreement if you want to have the support of a buyer's agent and you'd like to see homes. And that's really a new way of kind of working through the process, where in the past, across many different states in the US, you as the buyer could just call a buyer's agent and you would say,
hey, listen, I have this home that I really want to see. Can you show it to me today or tomorrow?
And the buyer's agent would say,
sure, let me just check my calendar. Yep, I got availability. Come meet me in the office, or maybe I'll just meet you right at the listing and I'll get you in.
Now let's just assume you want the assistance of a buyer's agent. You have to go under buyer-broker agreement before you see a home. You will review the terms and the conditions in the agreement, and it's your opportunity to understand what the buyer's agent is able to provide you. So the payout, the commission, the compensation is completely negotiable and not set by law. But let's just assume that you want to pay the buyer's agent very little in comparison to the services that you're requesting the buyer's agent to provide you. It is up to the buyer's agent to say yes, or they can counter on that compensation and vice versa. So both parties have an opportunity to come to an agreement or completely walk away from the opportunity altogether. Now there's going to be several different types of contracts, and depending on the brokerage, they're all going to look a little bit different. Have the buyer's agent kind of walk you through the different options that they're able to provide you, and just know that the contracts could be for a day, they could be for a month, they could be for 3 months. A smaller territory, say just a city, or maybe just one house, even that is going to be very negotiable. But again, it's also depending on what the buyer's agent is willing to provide in terms of a service. Now, I would expect the buyer's agent to do a really good job at enunciating the services that they're providing to you in this meet and greet conversation that they're having with you. But also, you're going to want to have this documented so that you really know what the services are and the buyer's agent knows what they've committed to. It's always a good idea to have a printed documentation of it, whether it's a presentation or a one-sheeter. No longer will you be able to see in the MLS if the seller is offering a commission and what that commission looks like. So now it's not going to be that easy to find. It's going to be much harder to get to that information. It's really going to require the buyer's broker to tap into the listing agent. Maybe it's just a phone call away. Point being is it's not going to be readily available. So if you have a buyer-broker agreement with a buyer's agent, there's ultimately 3 different ways this buyer's agent can get paid. If you put an offer on a home and the seller's offering the same amount of compensation to the buyer's broker, in that case, the seller would be paying the buyer's broker. But you could also get into a situation where, let's just say you negotiate it where you're paying the buyer's broker 2.5% and the seller is only offering 1%. You could negotiate into the offer so that the seller ultimately pay the complete amount to the buyer's broker, or you'd be responsible to making up the difference. Now, you could also get into a situation where you're interested in a house and the seller is just not interested in paying the buyer's agent anything. In that case, you would be responsible to paying your buyer's agent. Now, one of the ways to ensuring that you're not on the hook to paying the buyer's agent fees is by looking at just at homes that are offering, at the very least, what you're willing to pay for your buyer's agent. So you could ask your buyer's agent to only provide you with those homes that are willing to give that to the buyer's agent in terms of compensation. Now, I would say that's probably not the best tactic. What I would actually suggest is that you look at all options out there that fall within your budget, and then allow the buyer's agent to crunch some numbers for you in terms of those homes that you're really interested in, because a lot of times these homes are overpriced. So if the agent finds a home that you're really interested in and it comes back to being overpriced by 7%, just that knowledge base is already helping you save some money, because you now have a better idea of what the fair value of the house is, and strategically you can place an offer on that home that is much more in line with you getting the best deal there is. Now, with all these changes coming down the pipeline, if you're in the market to purchase right now, what should you do if you're a buyer? Well, that is completely a personal decision, but I think I can help you with your thinking here depending on what type of buyer you are. Let's first talk about the different options you have. You have an option of just going to open houses and not worry about having a buyer broker agreement. Open houses are excluded as long as you're just asking general questions from the listing agent and you're just looking at homes in that manner. Now, as you're going through these open houses, it's very likely that you end up liking a house, right? So you have the choice of going unrepresented, and in that case, it would be your responsibility to conduct the negotiation and to fill out the contract. But you also have the choice of working directly with the listing agent. In that case, the listing agent, depending on which state you'd be in, either, if they choose to do this, it would become a dual agency, or in the state of Florida where I'm in, it would be a transaction broker that essentially acts as a third party that facilitates the transaction between the buyer and the seller. Now, I can tell you in all these cases where you're working directly with the listing agent, there are going to be some real disadvantages, I believe, because of a conflict of interest. I mean, ultimately, the listing agent initially signed up to work for the seller, and it is their ultimate goal to sell that one particular home. Where if you work with a buyer's agent, the buyer's agent isn't going to be driven to just selling you that one particular house. A good buyer's agent is going to be driven to ultimately seeing you happy, and that means giving you alternatives and really helping you focus on that one particular house that makes the most sense with what you're interested in, your lifestyle, and your budget. And so that buyer's agent is going to help you understand all the different neighborhood choices that work within your budget, your area of interest. They will be able to elaborate on pros and cons of homes and neighborhoods. So I believe that you're going to get much better information out of a buyer's agent than you will out of a listing agent, because ultimately, again, the listings agent's first job
Is to sell that house.
Now, I believe not everybody on the buying side is going to need a buyer's agent, right? So it really depends on what kind of buyer you are. So for example, if you're somebody that's looking to purchase a home in an area that you're in, that you know really well, and you're someone that's been through the buying cycle quite a bit, and you're honing in onto this one particular home, well, yeah, in that case, maybe you just hire a lawyer, or perhaps you hire a buyer's agent just to help you with the contract and perhaps with the negotiation. But if you're one of these three different types of buyers, I think it is very well worth it for you to employ the help of a buyer's agent when it comes to full services that they typically offer. For one, if you're somebody that's from out of state, they're going to help you understand local nuances, the market trends, different types of homes, different types of areas, making sure that you're not getting in a situation that's actually going to cost you money in the future. There's just so much knowledge that they're going to be able to bring you that you're not going to be able to tap into online or watching YouTube videos. Number two is you're a busy professional. You may live in that state you're about to purchase in, you may not. The last thing you want to do is spend all this time trying to figure out the market, finding these different properties, when in fact you could employ somebody to help you while you're still able to focus on what you need to do, and that is to drive your career forward. Otherwise, making a decision to figuring out the market and just kind of working it yourself could be a real opportunity lost. The third type of home buyer is the luxury home buyer. They're looking for personalized attention, concierge service. They may be looking for exclusive listings that are much harder to find, but also they have quite a bit of disposable income. So watching the budget isn't going to be maybe as much of a priority to them as it is just being taken care of when it comes to their real estate needs. So how do you choose a buyer's agent? You're gonna have all these different choices. It seems like everybody is an agent, even though a lot of them are probably gonna fall out of the business now, but there's still going to be a lot of options for you, which is great. You just wanna make sure you find the right buyer's agent that you can team up with, that you can feel comfortable with. If you're somebody that's looking for just a person to open up doors for you, yeah, you don't need someone that has 3, 4, 5, 10 years of experience. But if you're looking for a buyer's agent to really provide you with full service, you want and need expertise because ultimately there's a lot of money on the line and you're not quite sure exactly where to buy, what type of home, you need a lot of knowledge base, then you're gonna wanna work with an agent that first of all has enough experience to provide you with value. You would want to have an agent that at least has 2, 3, 4 years of experience. You could ask the real estate agent, how many years have you been in business? Or just looking at their title. So for example, if they're a broker or a broker associate, in order to become a broker associate, you have to have at least 2 years of experience and it requires more education. Also, you would want to understand how many homes have they sold by assisting buyers over the last year, 2, 3 years. But then ultimately, I would go with your gut feeling as to the rapport you believe you're gonna have with that buyer's agent, because you're gonna be spending a lot of time with the agent. And so you're gonna wanna make sure that you feel you're going to have a great line of communication. I think that is so important beyond just finding a real estate agent that has the experience necessary to help you through the process. We're headed into uncharted territories. With this NAR settlement and this shakeup that it's really causing in the real estate market, we should be seeing innovation. If you're a buyer especially, you should be excited because you're going to see different compensation structures, business models, opportunities to work with buyers agents like you've never seen before. With knowledge comes power, and you will win in this market. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I always appreciate it. You can do me a favor if you enjoyed this video, like this video, subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. And if you have any comments, any suggestions for a buyer, especially leave it in the comments section. Now, if you're looking to purchase in the Sarasota County, Manatee County area, think about working with me. I would love to partner up with you. Thanks again so much and take care.